Okay, guys, I wanted to talk to you about the multiple choice practice we did and kind of go over that. This is what we completed in class on the College Board website. And these were 6 questions, and this is the breakdown of like how the students did. You can see that the third question was the one that most students actually missed, so we definitely need to talk about that. But I'm also going to talk about each and every one of these and their answers because there's a lot of learning that comes by evaluating each A, B, C, D, E choice and figuring out, well, what is wrong with this answer? What makes this not the right answer? Or maybe it's partially correct, but it's not the best answer. And we will have all year to practice this, and by the time you take the AP exam, these types of questions will be much more familiar to you. So I don't show you these questions to overwhelm you. I show you these questions so that you understand the depth of understanding that is required in AP statistics to do well on the exam. Because it seems simple at times, but then the concepts can get very deep and conceptual pretty quickly. So want to start this process early this year. So let's go ahead and look at number 1 here. And this was a situation that you had to fully understand what is going on in this scenario. What are your experimental units? What are the treatments? How is a random assignment occurring? That kind of thing. So as you read through, the easiest way to figure out what's going on is to think, where is a random assignment occurring? Well, it's occurring based on the washing machine. The washing machine is being randomly assigned to either get detergent A or detergent B. That makes the washing machine the experimental unit, and then all the loads, obviously, that have been put into that washing machine make up that experimental unit. But the washing machine itself is what is making up the experimental units. And then random assignment occurs by either giving it to detergent A or detergent B. And that makes detergent A and detergent B the treatments. So that is what makes this problem is complicated, but it makes it a completely randomized design. If you read through choices B through E, you can see the problem with each of them. B, a randomized block design with detergent A and detergent B as blocks. Well, they aren't blocks, they're treatments. So that's the problem with B. C, a randomized block design with the washing machine as the block. Again, the washing machine is the experimental unit here. D, a match pair design with detergent A and detergent B as the pair. Well, remember that a match pair is really just a block. So again, detergent A and detergent B are the treatments. They are not the match pair, obviously. And then an observational study is wrong because a treatment was imposed. So let's just kind of recap what blocking is and what match pairs design is. Basically, you take your experimental units. Instead of going right into the random assignment, you first block or match on characteristics that you think may be affecting the response or the response variable. So that is how you block. Experimental units get put into groups that are similar on some characteristic. Then from that block or from that match pairs, random assignment occurs into the treatment groups. And then you, of course, compare on the back end. Alrighty, moving on. Okay, the next question, the majority got this one right too, but a few of you did miss it, so let's talk about it. In the design of a survey, which of the following best explains how to minimize response bias? So you have to remind yourself, what is response bias? Well, response bias is when for some reason, systematically, the answers are are false. They're wrong. People are not giving the correct or what their truthful responses should be. So that's the first thing. A response bias is when the participant is not responding correctly for some reason or the other. And it is a non-sampling error. So you have to remember that. It has nothing to do with the sample itself and how that was created. It has to do with what's happening after the sample has been created. So it has nothing to do with the sample size. So A and B have to do with that. Randomly selecting the sample, again, it is a non-sampling error. And increase the number of questions in the survey. This one, you might have, thought, well, maybe that would work. But when you read on to E, carefully word and field test survey questions, This is the best choice because it directly relates to what causes a response bias. If your questions are not worded appropriately, or if for some reason they're not tested and you make sure that people are going to respond truthfully, then that would lead to response bias. Alrighty, moving on. This is the biggie. This is the one most students had trouble with. So I'm going to walk you through the question and all the answers. So basically, a polling firm wants to survey registered voters, and they want to get a representative sample of all the registered voters in the U.S. So they automate a process, and they basically create a sample of random phone numbers, okay? And they will call those phone numbers. Now, be clear here, it is not using a directory to create the sampling, the sample. So the sampling frame is kind of ambiguous here. There's not really a true sampling frame other than all possible combinations of 10-digit numbers. So that's the first thing to sort of understand here. Then, if there is no response, or if an answer machine is reached, another number is automatically called. So there is an issue with this, and this is actually called non-response bias. So what's going on here, people that are in the survey, so the telephone number is in the sample itself and should be included in the survey, but for some reason those people are not answering the machine or not at home, so they're being left out of the survey responses. That is non-response. The second one, if a person answers, the survey worker verifies the person is at least 18 years of age. If they are not, no response is recorded. Again, turning those numbers in the sample into a non-response. Okay, so again, this is like a non-sampling error here as well. So if the person is at least 18 years of age, the person is surveyed. So there seems to be some problems. We're looking for, of the following, which one is not a legitimate concern? And it's B. And almost nobody got that right. So let's talk through this. Registered voters with children under the age of 18 years may be underrepresented in the sample. This is a problem with the way they are doing this, because if you have children in the house, even if you are in your home and your child answers the phone, you will not be included in that survey. You will be listed as a non-response or no response, okay? So you would be underrepresented. C, registered voters who have more than one telephone number may be overrepresented in the sample. That is correct, because you could actually call the same household twice if there's more than one phone number, because both of those numbers, or all the numbers associated with a household, could be randomly generated by their automation system. So that is a problem. D, registered voters who live in the households consisting of more than one voter may be underrepresented. It never gives the chance for both. Say there's two parents living in a home. There's never the opportunity for both of those parents to be included in the survey process. The home number may be included in the sample, but both parents would never be included. So you're getting an underrepresentation of those types of voters. People who are not registered to vote may bias the sample results. Absolutely, because you're not just looking at registered voter numbers, you're looking at all possible numbers. So E is also a problem. It is a legitimate concern. B is the only one that isn't, and here's why. Registered voters with unlisted telephone numbers may be underrepresented in the sample. And I think what may be going on with this one is you may not understand the term unlisted telephone number. So an unlisted number means you have a home phone, but it's just not in the phone book or the directory that you might look up and call someone from. So that's not what's going on here. What's going on here, you're not using a directory or a phone book. They're randomly creating numbers of 10 digits to make phone calls. So any number that's unlisted could actually be and would actually be included in the sample of numbers. So this is not a legitimate issue, and it's because these unlisted telephone numbers can actually be contacted the way that they're doing it. But you had to fully understand that the firm has automated its sampling so that random phone numbers within the U.S. are called. So they're just randomly generating those numbers and calling them. So that was a very complicated problem with a lot of things going on in it. So just make sure you understand that one. Now, the next one most people got, so I won't spend much time on this one. Under which of the following conditions is it preferable to use stratified random sampling rather than simple random sampling? And remember that you use stratified sampling when the individuals in each stratum are as similar as possible within and very different between, especially on whatever it is you're trying to measure. So that would be that answer, so just make sure that makes sense. And then the next one also students did pretty well on. Each person in a simple random sample of 2,000 received a survey. 317 people returned their survey. How could non-response cause the results of the survey to be biased? Okay, so you need to be clear about what non-response is. Non-response is when you have a sample and you know who's supposed to be in the sample, who's supposed to be providing feedback or information. You have a sample, but for some reason, some of the people or observations in the sample cannot be contacted or are not responding. That is called non-response. So that is a non-sampling error. So some of these that talk about small samples, large samples, that's not what's going on here. So you have to read all the way down to E. And then when you get to E, those who did not respond may differ in some important way from those who did, I may have said that backwards, those who did respond may differ in some important way from those who did not respond. So that is the problem with non-response, and that's how that biases your results. Now, if the population of the people who didn't respond look exactly like those who did respond, there really wouldn't be an issue. The problem is you just don't know if that's the case or not. All right, so kind of look through each of these and understand that E is definitely the best choice there, and that's kind of how you have to approach these. You must read every answer. Do not ever choose an answer before you've gotten to the very last one. Okay, so we have a situation here. Most students got this right, the majority, but several of you missed it, so we'll go through it. So you have a situation where George and Michelle think they have the better recipe, so they cook up a batch of their cookies, and then they randomly pick respectively from their friend groups and give them a survey. So let's kind of walk through each of these answers. And we're looking for the statement that is false. So kind of do this as you practice going through the AP exam. Look at, or AP exam type questions. If you're looking for false, kind of come down and mark each of these as true or false. And then go back and double check that you're writing down the correct response. So A, because George and Michelle have a different population of friends, their sampling procedure makes it difficult to compare the recipes. That is true. So you kind of probably felt that way. So kind of put a T beside this, that's probably true, and kind of go through the other responses and see if you find one that looks better to you. Okay, B, because George and Michelle each use only their respective recipes, their cooking ability is confounded with the recipe quality. True, absolutely true. C, also absolutely true. So the ovens may not cook well, cook half the cookie, the other half's raw, that kind of thing. So yes, C is also a true problem. D, because George and Michelle use the same questionnaire, the results will generalize to the combined population of their friends. This is false. So let's talk about what would need to happen here. So if you're going to generalize your results back to the population of interest, you must randomly select from the population of interest to get your sample to do the survey. They did not do that. They kind of did a variation of that from their respective populations. So what you would have to do here is you would have to actually get all of their friends. You would have to alphabetize them, give them a label, randomly select from their group of friends, and then you would probably want to have them taste both cookies by random assignment, which cookie they taste first, almost doing a matched pairs design for this. That's just kind of how I think this would work the best way. But definitely D, this is not a true statement. You cannot generalize to the combined population. So that's your false one. E, because George and Michelle each baked one batch, there is no replication of the cookie recipe. So again, this is true. You need replication. One batch would not be enough. So D is your best answer there. All right, and finally, the very last one here. Oh, no, that was the last one. All righty. So we've gone through all of them. Hopefully that helps you out. Remember that you're going to finish, if you have not done so, you're going to finish the multiple choice on Blackboard. And I have it set so you have to finish it by midnight tonight. So you probably want to, you don't want to stay up to midnight. You probably want to get up in the morning and take a few minutes to kind of look over what you did. I think it gives you your score right away, but I don't think you can see the correct answers until everyone has had to turn it in. And unfortunately, that's just kind of how I have to do it to make sure there's not cheating going on. So anyway, look at that, and hopefully this helped you out, and I will see you guys later today.